Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all of the good networking tools. But we must realize that these create false identities associated with social media outlets. And it causes a false reality for many of our students. Whatever social media apparatus should be used in moderation. There should be no reason for an individual sitting on their bed to be on Instagram for 2 to 3 consecutive hours, invested in someone else's life. We must discipline them to create their own lives, instead of allowing Instagram to construct this idea, this notion of beauty, because the community, we fail to remind them that they are beautiful. These hypersensitive realities that we try to sweep under the rug are serious. And they are affecting the lives of our students now and today, more than ever. Instead of our students spending their leisure time creating Instagram, they could be creating more software and technology that not only save lives, but saves time. This is what we need. We cannot allow these intentionally constructed distractions to detour them from their success that lies ahead of them. The goal of our community is to challenge their minds. Whether you require them to go outside and help in the garden, whether you assign them a new book to read, the ultimate goal is to furnish an idea of completing a task. The repetition and discipline of reading a book and completing it, planting a garden and watching it grow, building a gingerbread house from scratch, teaching them the importance of learning their multiplication table. So once they are older, they can then apply their prior knowledge, another achievement, to solving extended pedigrees of derivatives and calculus. Thank you, Ms. Walker. The community and family is at the heart of this process. An African proverb says, and I hope this is near and dear to my heart, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a line. So it is important to realize that education must incentivize teachers for transcending state requirements and preparing students for college and global competition, while holding students accountable and enforcing new learning techniques, relieving students of certain pressures, cultivating the human faculties of human nature that can uplift the student, to not allow these pressures to defeat them, to not allow standardized tests to discourage them, to not allow pre-existing conditions to determine their future. But I do believe there's hope in education. When I was in elementary school, my dear would give me money in exchange for good grades. She did the same for my dad, my Aunt Carla, my cousin China, and Isis. But every time we would receive an A, she would give us $20. Every time we received a B, she would give us $10. Every time we received a C, she would give us $5. But when we received a D, she would take away $25. And lo and behold, then we received an F. But she said she would take away money. This was important for our child. It reinforced us bringing home good grades and also gave us a basic understanding on how to, hustle our grandmother. But better than anything, it promoted a greater work ethic. I was always excited to tell her what type of grades I brought home on my report card. I'm sure many of you remember that feeling of having a few extra dollars in your pocket as a child when you had no responsibilities, obligations, or care in the world. It was blissful, serene. But more than anything, my idea in her own way may have constructed a complex educational theory. We can learn a thing or two from the way she broke down the grading system for monetary exchange. She could have easily stopped giving us money after we made a B, and began taking money back every time we made a C. But instead, she commended us for all of our attempts. We now understand that an F is completely failing the subject. But a D means that the student has a basic comprehension of the materials. A C simply means that the student mastered the materials. And a B demonstrates the student's mastery and incorporation, whereas an A exhibits complete achievement within the course. So instead of punishing us for receiving a C, she commended us. And in return, we worked harder to improve our grades, because we understood that with an improvement came more money. Most students today are told that they have failed when they receive a C, that their dreams, hopes, and desires are now tossed out the window, but this attitude must Some individuals may not have been able to commit to their coursework the same as others, or some other dynamic interrupted their ability to study, but it doesn't mean that whatever they're doing in life is completely worthless. Too many times, students throw away their future because someone told them that a C was not good enough. But the honest reality is that there are more people in this world that are controlling wealth and possibly making countless decisions about our educational process. And they graduated with a C after. Although the incentives that my dad gave us were quite pleasing, eventually the money became no longer a factor. Because once she saw that we were capable of making good grades, she stopped rewarding us because good grades were no longer an expectation for us. You see, however, she continued to push us and raise the bar after we met our goal. This is important in any student's life. As a community, we cannot merely allow our students to satisfy one goal and then stop challenging them. Education is predicated on persistence. One must be disciplined. When we create this environment for our students and teach them the importance and meaning of having a disciplined mind, they begin to look at their own achievements and begin emitting their own goals for themselves. Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, the sixth president of Morehouse College, once said, "Whatever you do, do it solely that no man living, no man dead, and no man yet to be born can do it any better. We expect nothing less." The last part of that quote holds more value to my life than any other portion. We expect nothing less. Regardless of circumstances, life obstacles, boyfriends, girlfriends, situationships, heartaches, headaches, regardless of all of these things, the fact still remains. We expect nothing less. So we have to then begin to ask our students, what are your expectations, not for me, but for you? Let it not be said of you that you went out into the world and did not have any expectation for yourself. For these students to be all they ought to be, we as a community must also first be all we ought to be. You must be the light the world needs. Shine your light on the dangers of this world lying in the crevices of the classroom. Shine your light on the young man who has to contemplate the idea of either joining a gang or being a student. Shine your light on the young lady who is faced with the challenge of raising her siblings or going to college. Let it not be said of you, Shelby, North Carolina, that when someone called on you to assist in changing the educational landscape, you were incapable of refining the requirements. You were inept of the empirical procedures that produce difference. Your words betrayed you and your syllogisms crumbled. Let these things please not be said of you. As a community, we owe our students the proper instruments that will grant them access to their own conception of success. Well, our number one priority is to hold a crown over the student table. A crown of possibility, a crown of opportunity, a crown of resources, a crown of hope, a crown of change, a crown, nonetheless, that promotes our love for who they are and whatever they dream of becoming. And finally, let the Hakeems and Shelby know that this life journey will not always be clear or easy, but it will be worth it. Thank you all. Have a good day.